The story starts 7 years ago, as everything changes in a single moment. The road stays full of noise and movement, people rushing around like any normal day, until one small pause shifts everything. A girl turns back after noticing the red light, and right after that, the world collapses into chaos. What follows becomes known as the dungeon break, and because of it, monsters start pouring out from strange portals. Panic spreads instantly, and as people try to escape, many lose their lives. Cries for help fill the air, but nothing is enough to stop what has already begun. The family of our main character is also dead. That single day takes everything from him. The loss hits so hard that his body reacts before his thoughts can settle. His teeth clench, and tears mixed with blood run down his face. That pain turns into a firm decision, and because of what he loses, he makes a promise to become a hunter and destroy every monster. 7 years pass, and the place that once held tragedy now stands as a memorial park. On a bench nearby, our MC, Seong-yoon, sits quietly. His thoughts circle around the fact that he has just been thrown out of the hunter training gym. He looks down at himself and feels the gap between what he wanted to become and what he actually is. That moment brings back a memory. His coach had stood in front of him earlier and directly informed him not to return to the training gym anymore. Seong-yoon had tried to understand the reason, but the answer came without hesitation. The coach explained that most awakened people only need a few months to complete their training and become hunters. Then he pointed out the real issue. This boy has spent 7 whole years there and still achieved nothing. Because of that, the coach finally speaks honestly. He makes it clear that Seong-yoon has no talent at all and calls him useless. Those words hit harder because others are standing behind, watching. Some of them admit that seeing him train every morning made them respect his effort, but that feeling quickly fades when someone else explains that there is nothing to admire in someone who does not understand his own limits. The question of how his stats never improved after 7 years hangs in the air, making everything even more humiliating. Back in the present, the memory fades as he grips a drink can tightly, crushing it in his hand. Frustration builds because even the basics never improved for him. He cannot understand why nothing ever changed for him, no matter how hard he tried. While sitting there, he overhears a conversation nearby. A woman and her child are talking about the past. The child recalls how her father died bravely while saving others during the monster attack. Because of that memory, the mother gently guides her, asking what she should do when life becomes difficult. The child answers with confidence that courage is the only way forward and that giving up is never an option. Those simple words hit Seong-yoon deeply. They connect directly to his own situation, and because of that, something shifts inside him. He suddenly stands, bows slightly without thinking, and runs off. The moment pushes him to realize that even after 7 years, he still has not let go. Sweat runs down his face as he accepts that he cannot quit now. He runs through the square with a clear thought driving him forward. He refuses to give up. Soon after, rain begins to fall, but it does not slow him down. He reaches the gym and knocks on the door. When it opens, the same man appears again, already annoyed. Standing there, he asks for one last chance to pass the hunter exam. He explains through his actions and determination that he cannot walk away like this. The man reacts with anger because he sees no change in him. He insults him again, questioning why he still does not understand his own reality. Then he assumes that the boy has returned for money and mocks him further. That accusation triggers a strong reaction. Our boy tries to make it clear that this is not about money at all. However, before anything can change, he receives a sudden hit to the face. The force throws him backward, and he lands on garbage bags. The man turns away and dismisses him completely, calling him worthless. Left alone in the rain, sitting among trash, he looks down with empty eyes. The pain of rejection mixes with his old regret. He starts thinking that everything would have been different if he had even a small amount of talent or a unique ability. Right then, something unexpected happens. A drop falls into the water, and a system notification appears, praising his strong will. The moment confuses him because it comes out of nowhere. Before he can react properly, his body starts getting pulled into a puddle. Fear rises as he struggles to understand what is happening, but the pull becomes stronger. His voice echoes through the area, but when the gym owner comes outside, there is no one left. Only the boy's cap remains, which gets thrown away carelessly. Meanwhile, Seong-yoon sinks deeper into water that feels endless. He holds his breath, trying to survive, but suddenly the force changes and throws him upward. Instead of escaping, he starts falling again, and a blue screen appears in front of him. The message explains that a test tower has selected candidates from Earth. Because of that, he starts wondering if another disaster is happening. Then a choice appears, asking him to select a difficulty level, and it clearly states that rewards depend on that choice. Even without fully understanding the situation, he trusts his instinct. The opportunity feels too important to ignore, so he makes a decision and presses the option. Immediately, a bright light surrounds him. The system acknowledges his suffering and hints that he might finally gain something from it. Soon after, it prepares him for the first level of the tower. His condition starts improving as all injuries and exhaustion are healed. Then the environment shifts completely. He finds himself standing in a desert. Confusion fills his mind, but another notification appears, and a sword suddenly emerges from the sand in front of him. The system explains that this trial is about survival, and the reward includes unlocking innate traits. That information freezes him for a moment. All the years he spent training suddenly feel connected to this single chance. The thought of finally gaining something after so much effort makes him smile in disbelief. He steps forward toward the sword, but the ground beneath him starts shaking. Because of that, he loses balance and falls. At the same time, a new message appears, announcing that the trial is about to begin and confirming that the selected difficulty is hard. That realization brings immediate fear. Before he can recover, a massive sand golem rises in front of him. The size and presence of the creature make it impossible to ignore the danger. The system then gives the condition clearly. He must survive for a limited time. A timer appears, showing 9 minutes and 58 seconds remaining. Because of that, he starts running without hesitation. Panic takes over as he reads the final warning. Failure in this test means death. Our MC keeps running across the sand, his feet sinking slightly with every step. He glances back and tries to judge the distance, but the sight behind him makes it clear that escape will not be simple. The monster is still chasing him, and because of its speed, the gap between them is not increasing the way he hoped. That realization makes him understand something important. With his current stamina, there is no way he can keep running like this for 9 full minutes. His body already feels the strain, and because of that, continuing like this will only lead to exhaustion. Even while running, his grip tightens around the sword, and he realizes the system did not give him a weapon for nothing. It told him to survive, which means he cannot rely on running alone. Because of that, a harsh conclusion forms in his mind. If he keeps escaping, he will eventually collapse and die. If he turns back, he might still die, but at least there is a chance. That thought forces him to look over his shoulder again, trying to figure out how to actually defeat something like this. At that moment, old memories push into his mind. The same faces that once looked down on him appear again, filled with mockery. Their words echo clearly, calling him useless and reminding him that he never understood his place. Because of that, something inside him snaps. The frustration that built over 7 years reaches its limit. He grits his teeth and questions himself. If he runs away now, nothing will change. That thought alone becomes unacceptable. He shifts his movement, jumping to the side as he keeps moving, and forces himself to stop thinking like someone who has already lost. His grip on the sword becomes firmer. For 7 years, he chased the goal of becoming a hunter. Even if his body never improved, his knowledge did. Because of that, he understands one key thing about monsters like this. They usually have a core, and destroying that core is what brings them down. With that in mind, he quickly builds a plan. The problem is that such cores are always placed in hard-to-reach spots. That means getting close will not be easy, especially against something this large. Still, standing still is not an option. He changes direction and starts moving toward a rising slope of sand. Step by step, he climbs upward, using the terrain to his advantage. Once he reaches a higher point, he throws himself forward and slides down, letting gravity carry him. The golem follows his movement and jumps after him. Because of its massive weight, it loses balance during the descent and starts rolling down the slope. That moment creates an opening. Seong-yoon immediately reacts. He leaps upward and lands on the moving body of the golem. Because of his position, he now has a direct path to its core. The timing aligns perfectly, and he understands that this is his only real chance. Without hesitation, he drives his sword toward the core on its chest. The blade connects, but the result is not what he expected. Instead of breaking, the core only cracks slightly. The force pushes the sword back, and shock spreads across his face. That single hit reveals another problem. The core is much stronger than it looks. Still, the small crack proves that it is not indestructible. Because of that, he prepares to strike again. Before he can act, a massive hand grabs him. The sudden grip stops his movement completely. Fear rises instantly as he is lifted into the air and brought closer to the golem's face. At that moment, the pressure becomes more than physical. The same voices from before start echoing again. Words filled with contempt surround him, repeating that he is worthless and does not belong anywhere. Those thoughts try to break his focus. But this time, his reaction is different. Even with blood covering his hand, he tightens his grip on the sword. Anger replaces hesitation, and because of that, he forces those voices into silence. He refuses to let them control him again. With a sudden motion, he throws the sword forward with everything he has. The blade cuts through the air and strikes the cracked core directly. This time, the damage is enough. The golem's movement stops for a brief second, and confusion spreads across its form. Then the system confirms the destruction. Cracks spread rapidly, and pieces of the monster begin to fall apart. A notification appears, showing that the remaining time is still over 7 minutes. That means he has completed the trial far earlier than required. The massive body collapses into sand, and silence returns to the desert. Seong-yoon lands on the ground, surrounded by the remains. For a moment, he stays still, trying to process what just happened. Then he slowly rises and looks around, making sure it is real. The realization settles in. He actually defeated the golem. A faint smile forms on his face, and for the first time, there is no doubt behind it. Soon after, the system appears again and acknowledges his success. It confirms that he has cleared the first level of the Tower of Trials and survived the test. Then the rewards are presented. He is informed that he will receive a unique characteristic, along with points and an additional skill called Quick Recovery. The numbers appear clearly, and the meaning behind them takes a moment to sink in. Because of everything he went through before, this feels unreal. For years, all his effort only brought him mockery. Now, in a single moment, he receives more than he ever expected. Then another notification appears, announcing the unlocking of his unique characteristic. The name shown is Necromancy, ranked at the lowest level. He freezes as he reads it. The word alone carries weight, and because of that, a new possibility opens in his mind. This might finally be the path that allows him to become a hunter. But that thought does not last long without interruption. He quickly reminds himself that none of this matters if he fails to survive what comes next. Right then, something unusual appears in front of him. A red and black mass of energy forms where the golem was destroyed. The sight pulls his attention immediately. He studies it carefully, trying to understand what it is. His injured shoulder still aches, but curiosity pushes him forward. As he gets closer, the system reacts again. New information appears, explaining that his unique characteristic has been activated. Then, a choice is presented. He is given the option to absorb the soul of the defeated golem. The meaning becomes clear almost instantly. That strange energy in front of him is connected to his new ability. With that understanding, he makes his decision without hesitation. As soon as he accepts, fragments of energy begin to rise from the remains of the core. They move toward him, and he is shocked as he watches it happen. A notification appears right after, confirming that he has absorbed the soul of the sand golem. Because of that, his skill level increases slightly. The moment the message fades, his body reacts in a way he does not expect. He bends forward and goes still, staring at his hands as confusion builds. That confusion deepens when a strange, blood-like energy starts moving toward his chest. It slowly seeps inside him, and because of the intensity, his breathing turns heavy. The flow continues until all of it settles within him, and only then does another notification appear, showing that his stored souls have reached a certain amount. That information connects directly with what just happened. When he thinks about the core, he realizes he can actually feel the presence of that absorbed soul. Because of that, a new understanding forms. Absorbing souls is not just a one-time effect. It means he can store them and use them later. He closes his eyes and focuses on that idea. As he tries to understand how it works, the system responds again. It informs him that absorbing souls can directly increase his stats. Right after that, his strength rises, and his endurance follows. The change is immediate. His body starts lifting slightly off the ground, and surprise spreads across his face. The sensation feels new, like energy is filling every part of him. Because of that, he clearly realizes that his stats have finally increased. That moment brings back an old memory. For 7 years, he struggled in the training room, unable to improve even the smallest thing. Now, after everything he went through, the result appears in front of him so suddenly. Then his innate trait becomes visible. The system explains its main ability, which is to absorb the souls of the dead and use them freely. Along with that, additional effects are listed, including permanent stat growth and the ability to store and manage those souls. Because of this, a faint, confident smile appears on his face. If he returns with this ability, becoming a hunter is no longer impossible. Before he can think further, a portal forms in front of him. The system directs him toward the lobby. He looks at it for a moment and understands that there is no other path forward. Because of that, he steps in. The space shifts instantly, and he falls out onto a cold floor. The impact reminds him that his body is still injured. As he gathers himself, a soft green light appears around him. His eyes widen as he watches his wounds heal completely. The realization becomes clear. After each trial, his body gets restored. Once he recovers, he starts looking around. The room is large but nearly empty, with only a single bed placed inside. He walks toward it and lies down, staring at the ceiling. That quiet moment makes him think about what comes next. He tries to understand why he was brought here and whether there is a way out. While those thoughts build up, a screen suddenly appears in front of him. The system introduces several available commands. These include information, store, community, inventory, and trial. Seeing them laid out like this helps him understand that survival here depends on how he uses these options. He gets up and forces himself to stay focused. Survival comes first. Because of that, he activates the trial option. The system shows the remaining time before the second trial begins. There is still a long wait ahead. That information makes it clear that this tower is not something he can finish quickly. He sits back on the bed and then checks the community feature. The moment it opens, a chat appears filled with messages. People are confused and overwhelmed, trying to understand what is happening. Some of them mention that they were not even hunters before being brought here. Because of that, he realizes something important. This place is not limited to trained hunters. Anyone can be dragged into it. Before the confusion in the chat settles, an admin enters and locks the conversation. That sudden control shifts the atmosphere. The admin then shares important information meant for those who cleared the tutorial trial. Seong-yoon pays close attention, hoping to find a way out. Instead, the explanation focuses on the system itself. Points are introduced as the main currency of the tower. They can be used in the store and even exchanged between participants through the community. That information quickly turns serious. The admin explains that without points, survival becomes impossible. Even basic needs like water cannot be obtained without them. The only way to earn points is by completing trials. Because of that, the situation becomes clear. If he wants to live, he has to keep passing these tests. After delivering this explanation, the admin leaves and the chat unlocks again. The silence that follows feels heavier than before. Our guy touches his face and thinks about his earlier hope. Becoming a hunter is no longer the main goal. Survival inside this tower takes priority now. His attention shifts to the sword nearby. He understands that relying only on it is not enough. Because of that, he opens the store and spends his points carefully. After some time, he equips himself with a shield. With his new equipment, he begins training. He swings his sword repeatedly, testing his movements. As he moves, he realizes something else. Even though everyone lost their stats when they entered the tower, experienced fighters still have an advantage because they remember their skills. That thought pushes him further. He knows he is not starting from the same level as others. Because of that, he cannot afford to slow down. He continues training until his body gives out. Exhaustion forces him to collapse onto the floor. Shortly after, a soft, healing light surrounds him again. Thanks to the lobby's effect, his body recovers quickly. That recovery allows him to continue preparing without delay. However, another problem appears. Hunger starts building up. He opens his inventory and checks what he has left. There is only a small amount of food. After spending points on equipment, his remaining balance is low. Because of that, every resource becomes important. Time passes quickly while he prepares. Eventually, the system announces that the second trial is about to begin. The remaining time drops rapidly, and even the chat becomes silent as everyone focuses on what is coming next. He pauses for a moment, feeling the pressure again. The memory of the previous trial stays fresh, and the fear of failing does not disappear. Still, he forces himself to stay steady. Giving up is no longer an option. The countdown reaches its end, and the system checks his readiness. He accepts without hesitation. Right after that, his body is pulled into another portal. A moment later, he arrives in a completely different place. This time, He stands in a forest. Notifications appear one after another, confirming that he has entered the second level under hard difficulty. The environment already feels different, and that alone raises his alertness. Then, the system reveals the objective. The goal of this trial is assassination. He is required to eliminate the chief of an orc tribe within a limited time. An image appears, showing the target. The chief stands confidently, commanding a large group of orcs. Seong-Yoon finds himself standing at the edge of a cliff. Below him, a camp spreads out, filled with orcs. The number alone makes the situation dangerous. As he looks down, the full reality sets in. The task is not just difficult, it requires him to enter a heavily guarded area and take down the chief without getting noticed. At the entrance, 2 guards stand watch while Seong-Yoon stays hidden in the bushes, carefully observing. As he studies the setup, he connects it with what he knows from normal dungeons. If an orc tribe has guards, then it also means there are hunters among them. That thought immediately raises the danger. His gaze shifts to a large, muscular orc with glowing eyes. Its presence alone feels overwhelming. Because of that, he realizes something harsh. Defeating even a single strong enemy like that would already be difficult, so facing the entire group at once is nearly impossible. That leads him to compare the situation with real hunters. Normally, taking down an orc tribe requires a full team, at least led by an E-rank hunter. Since he is alone, his chances drop to almost nothing. Because of that, he lowers himself completely to the ground and starts thinking carefully. Rushing in would only lead to failure, so stepping back to plan becomes necessary. As he considers his options, a small smile appears. A single idea forms, and it gives him a possible path forward. In his hand, he holds a burning torch. Earlier, he gathered enough logs, and now that preparation starts to make sense. He looks at the flame and interacts with the system, storing the torch inside his inventory. The result confirms that it works, and that small success strengthens his confidence. Time passes as he continues watching the camp. From a distance, the orcs seem slow and careless, but he understands that this is misleading. They are actually disciplined and follow patterns. Because of that, he focuses on their routine. He hides behind a tree and recalls that orc hunters usually leave in the morning and return by sunset. That means there is a window of time when the camp becomes more vulnerable. With that information, his plan becomes clear. The biggest problem is the number of enemies, so reducing that advantage becomes the key. Fire becomes the only method that can break their formation. He positions himself and waits for the right moment. Once he sees an opening at the entrance, he moves quickly. He throws the torch and immediately runs through the forest, spreading flames across dry areas. Because of that, the fire begins to grow rapidly. Soon, both the forest and parts of the camp catch fire. Smoke rises thick into the air, and panic spreads among the orcs. They start rushing around with water, trying to control the flames. Our guy watches from a distance and understands the effect. As the fire spreads further, it forces the orcs to focus on survival instead of guarding. That also means the hunters who left earlier will not return easily. While the chaos continues, he prepares for the next step. He knows he needs to act before the fire consumes everything. His goal becomes clear. He must pick off enemies one by one. He notices one orc separating from the group and moving toward the river to collect water. That creates an opening. The moment the orc turns at a sound, Seong-Yoon moves in from behind and drives his sword into its back. As the body falls, a familiar energy starts forming. A red and black outline appears, and the system offers the option to absorb it. He accepts immediately, and the energy flows into him. His skill level increases again, confirming that this is exactly what he needs. Before he can pause, another orc approaches from behind. This time, he reacts faster. Recognizing it as a sentry, he turns and blocks the incoming attack with his sword. Because of the threat, he activates his ability again. The system allows him to use the absorbed soul, and his stats increase further. Strength and agility rise, making his movements sharper. With that boost, he swings his sword with more force. At the same time, the fire continues spreading, keeping the rest of the camp distracted. After defeating the second orc, he absorbs its soul as well. Then he activates his recovery skill, restoring his condition while also increasing his stats again. His stamina, strength, and agility all improve, and because of that, his confidence grows. Now, facing individual enemies no longer feels as dangerous. He moves out of the burning area and spots more orcs ahead. Some of them react with fear, already affected by the chaos. He quickly counts them and understands the situation. A few hunters and one sentry remain between him and the chief. He looks deeper into the camp and locks onto his target. The chieftain stands further inside, still holding control despite the fire. Because of that, Seong-Yoon plans his approach carefully. If he avoids direct confrontation and moves around the remaining enemies, reaching the chieftain becomes possible. He charges forward and takes down 3 enemies in quick succession. The earlier boosts make a clear difference, and none of them can stop him now. While advancing, another enemy appears behind one of the orcs. This time, he raises his shield and blocks the attack. The impact is strong, but he holds his ground and pushes forward. As he fights through, he notices something important. The sentries are no longer guarding the chieftain closely. Because of the fire, their formation has broken, and the leader stands more exposed than before. That realization confirms that the plan is working. Only one final sentry stands in his way. Seeing it as the last obstacle, he focuses all his effort on breaking through. His sword strikes repeatedly, and finally, the blade pierces through. With the path cleared, he moves straight toward the chieftain. At that moment, the chieftain raises his weapon, and fire begins gathering at its tip. Seong-Yoon steps onto a fallen body and pushes forward, but the attack comes instantly. A powerful stream of flames shoots toward him. The force hits directly, and the impact spreads heat all around. However, something changes. Instead of falling, he endures it. Through the smoke, his figure remains standing. The chieftain's expression shifts as the result becomes clear. Seong-Yoon holds his shield firmly, teeth clenched, refusing to step back. A notification appears above him, confirming that he has gained resistance against flames after enduring the attack. Because of that, the situation turns completely. With his eyes burning with determination, he moves forward again, fully aware that the fight is about to end in his favor. Seong-Yoon moves straight toward the chieftain without slowing down. Because of the earlier opening, he closes the distance quickly. The chieftain reacts by raising his weapon again and releasing a loud signal, but that moment gives Seong-Yoon the chance he needs. His blade cuts forward, and the strike lands cleanly on the chieftain's hands. Pain forces the orc to freeze for a second. That pause shifts the flow of the fight. Instead of continuing the clash, the chieftain turns and runs into a nearby tent. Seong-Yoon follows immediately, his focus sharpening instead of fading. With one clean motion, he slices through the fabric at the entrance and steps inside. What he sees stops him for a moment. The chieftain sits on the ground, holding 2 small, trembling children close to him. At the same time, another smaller orc clings to Seong-Yoon's leg, crying and holding onto him tightly. That sight interrupts everything. Because of it, a different thought forms in his mind. These creatures, despite being monsters, still show attachment to their own. That realization slows him down just enough for old memories to rise again. Images of his own past appear clearly. His parents' voices echo in his mind, pushing him toward survival above everything else. The memory of a broken photo frame lying in blood strengthens that feeling. At the same time, the chieftain reaches for a hidden dagger and prepares to strike. The moment breaks instantly. Seong-Yoon reacts without hesitation and hits him with the hilt of his sword, stopping the attack before it can land. That action clears his thoughts. He forces himself to separate what he sees from what he must do. No matter what they look like, these are still monsters inside this tower. Because of that, he decides not to hold back. The hesitation disappears completely. Even if there is a chance for anything else, he refuses to take it. He commits fully to finishing what he started. The chieftain charges again, this time with another orc beside him. Seong-Yoon meets them head-on. His sword moves without pause, and within moments, the fight ends. The system responds immediately. A notification confirms that he has cleared the 2nd level of the Tower of Trials. As the tension fades, he looks at his shield. It is heavily damaged and no longer usable. Still, he understands that it played a key role in keeping him alive. A new screen appears, and he notices another detail. The number of participants has dropped sharply. Almost half of them are gone, which shows how dangerous the tower really is. While checking the system, he opens the community again. This time, new information appears. Someone has figured out a way to communicate with the administrator by sending a question. That detail catches his attention. He connects it with the available commands and realizes that the information tab allows him to send questions that will be answered after processing. Each new level gives him another chance to use it. Because of that, the purpose of the community becomes clearer. People gather and share the answers they receive. building a system of shared knowledge. He focuses on the key points being discussed. It becomes clear that after clearing the 5th level, temporary return stones will become available. These allow a short return to Earth. After the 8th level, even more advanced items will appear, making permanent return possible. That information changes his perspective. If he manages to survive and return with his current growth, his strength could reach a much higher level. Right after that, another notification appears, showing the current state of his unique trait. His necromancy ability has improved significantly. Even with that progress, he stays realistic. He barely survived the 2nd level, and the path ahead remains far more difficult. Still, he chooses to stay positive. His stats appear in front of him, and for the first time, they show real growth. The numbers that once stayed at 0 have finally started rising toward an average level. Because of that, he decides to push further. He activates his ability and absorbs the souls he collected earlier. The effect is immediate. His strength, endurance, and agility all increase again. The change feels overwhelming. Energy fills his body so strongly that it almost feels unnatural. For a moment, he cannot fully control it. That lack of control shows itself quickly. He moves too fast and misjudges his actions. His body reacts before he adapts, and he crashes into a wall. The impact throws him down, leaving him momentarily stunned. He wipes the blood from his nose and understands the problem. His body has not yet adjusted to the sudden increase in power. After recovering, he focuses on preparing properly. He opens the store and purchases a new shield to replace the broken one. Then he checks his inventory and brings out the rewards he earned earlier. Among them, he equips a dagger that improves his speed and attack rate. He also puts on a cloak that enhances his movement under certain conditions. Once everything is in place, he begins training again. He swings his weapon repeatedly, trying to match his movements with his new stats. Step by step, he works to bring his body under control. While training, a clear goal forms in his mind. He wants to become strong enough that no one can catch up to him. Time passes, and eventually, the next trial begins. The environment changes again. He appears inside a cave where water drips steadily from above. The system confirms that he has entered the 3rd level under hard difficulty. A new objective is introduced. This time, the trial focuses on a duel. The surroundings remain quiet, but tension builds quickly. A notification warns him that a guardian will appear soon. Because of that, he prepares himself immediately. He takes a fighting stance and stays alert, knowing that the enemy could appear from anywhere. The countdown reaches its end, and the presence finally reveals itself. A shadow forms behind him, taking the shape of a human figure. The attack comes instantly. The guardian moves with precision, striking without hesitation. Seong-yoon reacts with equal intensity. His focus sharpens, and his anger rises at the sudden pressure. Then the system provides the final detail. His opponent is a copy of himself, a dark guardian that mirrors him. Our guy then turns back and immediately kicks his opponent, forcing some distance between them. They stop and face each other again. The dark guardian mirrors him perfectly, even showing a twisted grin while licking its sharp fangs. Seong-yoon's breathing grows heavy, and because of the damage he just avoided, he realizes how close he came to losing everything. His recovery skill activates, and that alone confirms that if he had reacted even a second later, his spine would have been broken. That narrow escape sharpens his focus. He presses his lips together and studies the enemy more carefully. The sound of equipment echoes inside the cave as both of them hold the same stance. Because of how identical the posture looks, a thought forms in his mind. The creature is not just similar to him, it is copying him. To confirm that, he moves forward without hesitation. Instead of attacking directly, he rushes past the guardian. The moment he looks back, the result becomes clear. Blood splashes, and both of them stop at a distance. When he observes closely, he notices the wound on the guardian beginning to heal. That detail makes him clench his teeth, but at the same time, it gives him clarity. The enemy has the same recovery ability as him. Right after that, the guardian charges again and repeats the same kind of movement. Because of that, Seong-yoon becomes certain. Every attack, every action is being mirrored. He adjusts instantly. Instead of fighting normally, he changes his approach. If the enemy copies him, then it will also copy his weaknesses. That becomes his advantage. A fierce exchange begins. Both of them swing their swords, and the clash grows more intense. Suddenly, something unexpected happens. The tip of a blade appears dangerously close to his face, and the sound of impact follows. Both of them are pushed back. For a moment, confusion crosses his face. His sword flies upward, and the Guardian uses that opening to attack more aggressively. The pressure increases rapidly, and Seong-yoon struggles to keep up. That situation forces another realization. The Guardian is not just copying him, it is adapting quickly. The speed of its growth feels unnatural, and that makes the fight even more dangerous. Both of them create distance again. The energy inside Seong-yoon starts to rise, and a dark aura begins to surround his body. The system activates the special effect of his cloak, increasing his movement speed. Because of that boost, he understands one thing clearly. If this fight continues for too long, he will lose control of the situation. The skill has a time limit, so he must finish everything within that window. The Guardian reacts with a growl, and Seong-yoon moves first. He rushes forward at full speed, closing the gap instantly. As the attack comes toward him, he avoids it and positions himself better. Then he strikes again, pushing the Guardian back. He continues pressing forward until he manages to bring his sword close to the enemy's throat. At that moment, it feels like he has finally gained control. However, the result does not go as expected. The Guardian reacts instantly and counters. Its blade cuts through, and in the next moment, Seong-yoon's arm holding the sword is severed. Blood sprays into the air, and shock freezes him for a second. Pain follows immediately, and a loud cry escapes him. Even then, he forces himself to stay conscious. He reminds himself that the fight is not over yet. As he steadies himself, he notices something unusual. The Guardian is not moving. Because of the damage it took earlier, its recovery is still in progress. That small delay becomes his only chance. His sword lies on the ground beside his severed arm. Without it, finishing the fight becomes far more difficult. Still, he does not hesitate. He checks the remaining time of his active skill. Only a few seconds are left. Because of that, he prepares for a final move. He raises his shield and shifts his stance. The plan he forms is risky, but there is no other option. Compared to certain death, taking this risk becomes the better choice. He pushes forward. The Guardian reacts with confusion as Seong-yoon charges directly at it. Even without a weapon, he closes the distance and absorbs the incoming attack with his shield. The impact is heavy, but he holds his ground and continues moving. Using the force of the collision, he drives into the Guardian and strikes with everything he has. The blow sends the enemy flying back across the cave. Dust fills the air as the body crashes down. The Guardian struggles to move, its body already damaged. Seong-yoon follows without stopping. Standing over the fallen enemy, he raises his shield again. With a final strike, he brings it down. The force is enough to end the fight. The Guardian's head separates, and its body goes still. Right after that, the system appears once more. It confirms that he has successfully cleared the third floor of the tower. After clearing the previous fight, our MC enters the lobby of the fourth floor. The moment he arrives, his body restores completely. The arm that was cut off earlier returns as if nothing ever happened. He looks at it carefully, touches the wall, and then throws a punch. The impact leaves deep cracks across the surface, and because of that, he understands how perfect the recovery is. A satisfied smile spreads across his face. A notification appears, showing the number of souls he currently holds. That reminds him of the Dark Guardian he absorbed earlier. The energy inside him feels completely different from anything before. As he focuses on it, he realizes that this soul carries a much denser and heavier presence compared to the others. That realization connects directly to another system update. His necromancy reaches full mastery, and because of that, its rank increases. Along with the upgrade, a new effect unlocks. It explains that absorbing the soul of a skilled being can grant a chance to obtain one of their abilities. The meaning of that effect shocks him. The idea of gaining skills from souls feels unreal, but at the same time, he understands something important. From his earlier experiences, abilities are never given easily. He only gained recovery after pushing himself to the edge multiple times. Because of that, he knows this new effect depends on both risk and chance. Even with that uncertainty, the potential excites him. For the first time, he feels like he has gained something truly valuable. He accepts that luck will play a role, but he is ready to test it whenever the chance appears. Soon after, the system signals the start of the fourth floor phase. He enters the community again, and this time the environment feels familiar. After going through multiple trials, the lobby no longer feels strange. However, the atmosphere inside the chat is different. Messages are flooding in rapidly, and the topic quickly becomes clear. The next trial will not be individual. It will involve teams. Because of that, a new concern appears. Some players share information suggesting that the next stage will include competition between teams. That possibility immediately raises the tension. If teams must compete, then conflict between players becomes unavoidable. The thought of facing other humans instead of monsters unsettles him. The memory of bloodshed from earlier trials comes back, and he realizes that the next challenge might push him into an even harsher situation. Before the discussion can settle, the system announces the start of the 4th floor trial. The condition is clearly given. The team must defeat the Goblin King within a limited time. Failure will result in complete elimination. The environment changes again. A fortress appears in front of the players, surrounded by high walls. Seong-Yoon finds himself standing on the ground alongside others, all placed within a marked area. For a moment, he feels slightly uncomfortable. Recently, he has only been fighting monsters, so standing among people again feels unfamiliar. The team begins organizing themselves. One member introduces herself, Haeon Lee, a support-type hunter, explaining that she specializes in assisting others during battle. Another introduces himself as Seong-Hun Lee, a close combat fighter with a higher rank. Seong-Yoon then presents himself honestly. He explains that he focuses on close combat but has no official hunter status outside. Because of that, the reaction he receives is immediate. The others see him as inexperienced. That judgment creates distance between them. Seong-Hun Lee clearly treats him as a burden and warns him not to interfere. Even then, Seong-Yoon does not react emotionally. He has faced this kind of treatment before, so it does not shake him anymore. Instead, he focuses on the situation. The tower does not reward status. Only actual ability matters here. The system soon gives the signal to begin. The main gate of the fortress opens, and goblins rush out in large numbers. Their movement shows coordination, which makes them more dangerous than expected. The close combat fighter steps forward and blocks several attacks at once. The pressure increases quickly as the goblins advance in formation. At the same time, the support player prepares her spells, but struggles to keep up with the pace. Seong-Yoon watches carefully and notices something important. The others are focused only on what is in front of them, leaving gaps in their awareness. Because of that, he moves on his own. Without drawing attention, he starts eliminating goblins from the sides. His speed and precision allow him to clear enemies before they can react. Bodies begin to fall quietly, but the others remain unaware at first. Meanwhile, the frontline fighter faces increasing pressure. A goblin attacks with a chained weapon and lands a heavy strike. The force knocks his weapon away and sends him to the ground. The situation turns critical instantly. At that moment, our boy steps in. He intercepts the attacking goblin and eliminates it before it can finish the strike. The sudden intervention shifts the momentum of the fight. Haeon looks up in shock, unable to process what just happened. At the same time, the surrounding goblins hesitate after seeing their ally fall so quickly. Seong-Yoon positions himself in front of the team without turning back. He takes control of the situation naturally. His movements become faster, and his attacks grow more decisive. Within moments, he cuts through multiple enemies. The difference in strength becomes obvious, as bodies are thrown aside one after another. A notification appears, granting him a new title of Gobbling Slayer. Seong-Hun, the same person who doubted him earlier, now stands frozen. Our MC walks through the field of fallen goblins, moving steadily while absorbing their souls. Dark energy flows into him one after another, yet no one around him notices anything. Because of that, he realizes his ability remains hidden, allowing him to keep absorbing without interruption. With each soul, his stats rise again. Strength, agility, endurance, and even toughness increase, and the effect builds quickly. Then something different happens. Along with the usual gains, he absorbs a skill from one of the Goblin Guardians. That result surprises him. He checks the new ability and understands its effect. His field of vision expands, allowing him to notice movements from a wider range. Because of that, his perception sharpens instantly. When he looks around, the world feels clearer, and nothing nearby escapes his awareness. That sudden improvement excites him. It confirms that his new trait is not just about strength, but also about gaining abilities. With that advantage, he returns to his teammates. The atmosphere shifts slightly when he approaches. The others acknowledge his performance, but their reaction feels restrained. Instead of responding, he focuses on what matters next. He pulls his hood up and takes control of the situation. Since his strength has already proven itself, he decides to lead the team from the front. This formation makes the most sense because it allows him to deal with threats directly while the others support. The frontline fighter accepts this arrangement without arguing. The responsibility shifts naturally, and the team adjusts around him. He assigns simple roles. One focuses on protection, while the other continues providing support and guidance. With the plan set, they move forward again. As they continue, Seong-yoon keeps clearing goblin groups along the way. Each fight becomes easier because his stats keep rising. At the same time, his skill mastery continues to improve through constant use. Hours pass, and the environment grows quieter as night falls. The steady attacks from goblins begin to slow down. That sudden calm feels unnatural. Because of that, he stops and scans the area. His new perception ability helps him notice subtle details. Without explaining, he suddenly moves forward at full speed. His teammates follow, confused but unable to ignore his reaction. They soon reach an open area filled with goblin corpses. The sight makes it clear that another team has already passed through. When he checks the bodies, he notices that the blood is still fresh. That means the other team is not far ahead. This realization raises the stakes. If another team defeats the boss first, failure becomes certain. Because of that, he pushes the pace and moves forward without hesitation. As they advance, another group of goblins attacks. This time, Seong-yoon handles them alone. He moves through the enemies quickly, avoiding their strikes and eliminating them one by one. Within moments, the fight ends. The ground fills with bodies again, and the path clears. His teammates watch the result in silence. The difference in ability becomes even more obvious now. After that, they reach a large gate. The structure stands tall, marking the entrance to the boss area. One of his teammates moves forward to open it, while Seong-yoon stays alert. As the gate activates, the system responds immediately. All members of the team are confirmed to have entered the boss zone. However, the condition changes without warning. A barrier forms around the entire area, sealing everyone inside. The system explains that the battle will not begin until only one team remains. That announcement changes everything. Escape becomes impossible, and the situation shifts from a simple boss fight to direct conflict between teams. Seong-yoon looks ahead and sees the opposing group approaching. Their presence confirms that this stage is no longer about monsters alone. The tension rises instantly. The other team prepares for battle, clearly aware of the same condition. Seong-yoon understands the situation without hesitation. If they lose here, it ends completely. Because of that, he makes his decision. He chooses to face the enemy himself and takes the front line alone. He relies on his teammate for support and asks her to strengthen his agility and maintain assistance from a distance. The support activates immediately, and his body responds to the boost. The increase in speed sharpens his movements even further. At the same time, he evaluates his current state. After defeating dozens of goblins and absorbing their strength, he knows he has already surpassed an average hunter. The opposing team takes their stance, preparing for a direct clash. Seong-yoon moves first. With full confidence in his current strength, he charges forward, fully prepared to handle the fight on his own. Seong-yoon moves toward the opposing team without hesitation. His speed alone creates pressure, and because of that, the assassin on the other side reacts immediately. He senses the danger and shifts behind his teammate, forcing the knight to activate his defense at full strength. A golden barrier forms in front of them, covering the entire group. That defense should hold against most attacks, but Seong-yoon does not slow down. His strike lands directly on the shield, and the impact shatters it completely. The force creates a strong gust that pushes the enemy team back. Because of that opening, he rushes forward and attacks all of them at once. His teammates watch from behind, unable to hide their shock at the sudden difference in strength. The assassin recovers quickly and steps into the fight. The two clash directly, exchanging blows at high speed. Seong-yoon notices something unusual during the exchange. Even though his opponent's overall skill is lower, he still manages to block every attack cleanly. That detail forces him to think more carefully. Instead of slowing down, he decides to increase his pressure. He moves faster and changes angles, aiming to break through the defense. He appears behind the assassin and swings his sword, expecting the strike to finish the fight. However, the attack gets blocked again. This time, the reaction is even sharper. Because of that, Seong-yoon understands what is happening. The assassin is not reacting randomly. He is reading the path of the attack itself. The opponent jumps back to create distance, but that movement brings him directly into another trap. A shield rises in front of him, blocking his vision for a split second. Our guy uses that moment perfectly. He moves from below the shield and strikes straight into the assassin's chest. The hit lands cleanly, and the fight ends instantly. A system notification appears. confirming the completion of a special condition and adding bonus rewards for the floor. After the clash ends, his teammates approach him. They notice the slight tremor in his hands. Even though his expression stays calm, the impact of what just happened still lingers. He keeps his composure and shifts focus back to the objective. There is no time to stop now. The team moves toward the boss area immediately. When they reach the Goblin King, the fight ends quickly. Seong-yun attacks from behind and pierces the target without giving it a chance to react. The system confirms the result. The Goblin King is defeated, and the fourth floor trial is cleared. With that, the tension finally releases. Rewards are granted, and all his stats increase again. Along with that, he receives a new skill that instantly enhances his movement speed. The team gets transported to a lobby. One of his teammates leaves first without delay. Seong-yun remains behind with the support player. In that quiet moment, she acknowledges what happened. The situation forced them into a fight against other people, and the result could not be avoided. Because of that, she accepts the outcome without blaming him. Her words ease the weight slightly. He understands that survival in the tower requires difficult choices, and hesitation would only lead to failure. Before leaving, she sends him a connection request through the system. The gesture shows that she trusts him despite everything that happened. Then, she steps into the portal and disappears. Left alone, Seong-yun turns his attention to the surroundings. The bodies of the defeated players remain, and dark energy gathers above them. That sight forces him to pause. Absorbing monster souls has already become natural, but this situation feels different. Taking human souls crosses a line he has not fully accepted yet. Because of that, he hesitates at first. He understands what it means, and that thought holds him back. However, reality pushes him forward. Inside this tower, survival comes above everything else. If he refuses to adapt, he will fall behind and eventually die. With that understanding, he makes his choice. He raises his hand, and the energy begins to flow from the bodies toward him. The absorption process starts, and the power settles inside him. That moment marks a clear shift. He no longer limits himself to what feels right or wrong. Instead, he accepts what is necessary to survive. Along with his original goal of becoming a hunter, a new ambition starts forming. The tower has given him a chance, and he decides to use it completely. After that, he steps into the portal and moves to the next stage. He arrives at the lobby of the 5th floor. Immediately, the system begins a large update. A ranking system appears, and the results of the previous trials are displayed. He looks at the interface and is prompted to choose a new name. After a brief thought, he replaces his original identity with a new one. The results appear in front of him. When he checks the list, he finds his position higher than expected. His performance places him among the stronger participants. Additional information appears. Those who rank within the top group receive a special status that grants advantages in later stages. He reads through it but does not focus too much on the details. For now, surviving each floor remains the priority. Another prompt appears, allowing him to absorb more souls from his current collection. As he does so, his strength increases again, pushing him further beyond normal human limits. Finally, a new option unlocks. He gains access to a return item that allows him to leave the tower temporarily. He takes the item and activates it. The destination is set. For the first time since entering the tower, he prepares to return to Earth. Seong-yun confirms his decision to return, and the moment he accepts it, his body begins to fall as if the ground disappears beneath him. The system starts the transfer process, and a strong pulling force drags him into a swirling funnel. The pressure builds instantly, and before he can steady himself, everything around him fades. The system completes the process and places him back on Earth. It informs him that this return will only last for 3 days before he is sent back again. He opens his eyes while lying on his bed, and the familiar surroundings make it clear that he is truly back home. Because of that, he relaxes for a moment and leans into the pillow, realizing how different this comfort feels compared to the harsh environment of the tower. That brief comfort does not last long. A foul smell reaches him, and it quickly reminds him of his condition. Because of that, he gets up immediately, knowing he needs to clean himself first. As he moves, he notices something important. His shield and sword are lying on the floor. He picks them up and realizes that items from the tower have followed him back. That changes everything. Because of that realization, he understands the bigger picture. If he can bring items back, then others can do the same. Over time, more challengers will return, and the market will fill with equipment. That will cause prices to drop quickly. This thought pushes him to act fast. He decides to sell his items before their value decreases. However, another problem appears. Only licensed hunters are allowed to sell equipment officially. Because of that restriction, his next step becomes clear. He needs to pass the hunter license exam as soon as possible. He checks his phone and realizes how much he needs to handle in a short time. Without wasting time, he contacts the training gym. At the training ground, cadets continue their usual practice while the coach oversees them. When the call comes in, the coach answers and introduces himself. As soon as he hears Seong-yoon's name, his expression changes. The coach assumes he is calling for a refund and dismisses him quickly. However, Seong-yoon does not bring up money at all. Instead, he makes a different request. Because he refuses the refund, the coach becomes slightly interested. Seong-yoon explains that he needs help passing the hunter license exam. The coach reacts with disbelief, remembering his past performance and lack of talent. Even so, Seong-yoon does not back down. He insists on getting a chance and proposes a deal. All he needs is an opportunity to take the exam immediately. After that, he prepares himself. Once he finishes washing, he looks at his body in the mirror. His physique has clearly changed, reflecting the growth he gained inside the tower. That confirms that his progress is real, not temporary. He gets dressed quickly and leaves his apartment. As he steps outside, he runs into his neighbor. That simple interaction reminds him of normal life, something he has not felt in a long time. He greets her briefly and continues on his way. When no taxi stops for him, he does not wait. Instead, he relies on his enhanced abilities. He moves across rooftops at high speed, turning the journey itself into a test of his new strength. Soon, he arrives at the Hunter Association building. Inside, he meets the coach again along with the examiner. The atmosphere feels different this time because Seong-yoon stands with confidence instead of hesitation. The examiner explains the process and removes the theory portion due to the coach's request. That leaves only the practical test. Seong-yoon enters the testing area with a sword in hand, while the observers watch from above. The setup is already prepared, and the difficulty level can be chosen freely. In the past, he always selected the lowest level and still failed. That memory stays clear in his mind. However, his situation has completely changed now. Because of that, he makes a different choice. Instead of playing it safe, he selects the highest difficulty level. The decision shocks everyone watching, especially the coach, who expects him to fail again. The system immediately begins the test. A powerful fire-based monster appears in front of him, radiating intense heat. At the same time, a debuff affects his movement, slowing him down. His weapon also feels unstable due to prior tampering, making the situation even harder. From the outside, it looks like a setup for failure. The coach watches, expecting him to break under pressure. However, our guy stands still for a moment, his eyes focused and sharp.